The Los Angeles Lakers have made a pair of signings to get going here on day one of NBA free agency. Harrison Graham and Chase Sr. Chase, the news that has just come in, Lonnie Walker, 1 year, $6.5 million deal. So Walker was set to be a restricted free agent with San Antonio. They pulled the qualifying offer because I think they're tanking finally. So that made him unrestricted. Now that clears path for him to sign with Los Angeles. Had a career-high 12.1 points per game last year. Tell the folks a little bit about him.
Yeah, so I like Lonnie Walker, and I'm not going to compare him to Malik Monk, but from a standpoint of a young, athletic player who has upside, Lonnie Walker does somewhat fill the void of losing Malik Monk, who, as we've talked about, signed with the Sacramento Kings. So he goes to Miami. He decides to opt for the NBA draft. I thought it was a little bit early for him because I thought there was some development that needed to take place. And he's not a Malik Monk type because Malik Monk, a 40% three-point shooter. Last year, Lonnie Walker at 31.5%. But he is coming off his best year, and I firmly believe, and this is why I've said that Lonnie Walker is one of those sleeper free agency candidates, that there's a better player in Lonnie Walker than what we've seen in San Antonio. Will that get extracted, and will that come out in Los Angeles? Potentially, but he's coming off the best year of his career, 12 points per game. He can put the ball on the floor. He gives you athleticism. He's a nice little rim rocker at times. This guy certainly has potential. He hasn't lived up to it yet as a former first-round pick, like Malik Monk. Similar pass. Now, Monk has gone more so on the upward trajectory, where Lonnie Walker has kind of just been a flatliner to a certain degree. But in terms of it being a one-year deal for the money that it is, which it looks as though right now it's going to be $6.5 million, that's pretty good value if you get the best out of Lonnie Walker, who can be a better player than he's been over the last couple of years.
Yeah, so Lonnie Walker, I actually watched him a few years ago at Miami in the NCAA tournament. You're right about the athleticism. He can absolutely throw down. Good defensive player. The efficiency hasn't been there, Chase, but I also think he's been asked to do more than really a player like him should in San Antonio. You hope the efficiency will go up as he continues here. Now he's playing for more of a contender in Los Angeles. So I like this move for the Lakers. Yeah, you lose Monk, but Lonnie Walker is a nice signing, I believe. How do you guys feel about the signing? Type L for love it, type H for hate it. Let us know in the comments section. This signing also coming through, Chase, as the Lakers all of a sudden have gotten busy here. Troy Brown Jr., kind of a lower end 3-and-D type of player. He's going to sign on the minimum. Last year, 4.3 points per game, 3 rebounds, 35.5% from three-point range, so he can space the floor a little bit, defend multiple positions.
We're talking about a guy who was the 15th overall pick back in the 2018 NBA draft for the Washington Wizards, and he has not had a good NBA career up to this point, with the exception of his second year with Washington when he averaged around 10 points per game. But when you look at this Lakers roster right now, they need types like this. And the primary focus and one of the biggest talking points that we've discussed ad nauseum here on the Lakers Report, get younger, get more athletic, bring in some youth, and start to build this roster with the veterans that you have, but also some of the young players. Troy Brown Jr., Lonnie Walker IV. These are the types of players and value signings that we've been talking about, wanting the Lakers to make, and they've gone out and made a couple of them.
Yeah, so Troy Brown, the latest deal to come in here for the Los Angeles Lakers. We'll see what else ends up happening here as we continue to break down this news. Damian Jones signing a 1-year vet minimum deal, player option for the second year. And obviously with having 3 max players on your roster, Chase, you got to find these guys that round out the 15-man roster.
Yeah, for Laker fans, you can look at this a couple of ways, right? Former first-round pick for the Golden State Warriors, 30th overall in 2016 out of Vanderbilt. Didn't necessarily live up to the first-round billing. But you can also look at this as the Lakers needed a depth piece at the center position, a guy who analytically has played very well and had sneaky good production last year for Utah. You look at the numbers from a year ago, as he really started to come into his own, 8 points per game, 4.5 rebounds, and he connected on about 66% of his field goals. He gives you really good size at 6'11", 245 pounds. He has switching versatility, and he certainly has that element to his game that intrigues you as a backup big who can contribute on both ends of the floor. And look, last year you had DeAndre Jordan to start the year. You had Dwight Howard. Would you rather have those veteran pieces where DeAndre Jordan definitely washed, Dwight Howard some good years left, I still believe, even though he's been in the league for a minute, or would you rather go with another player in Damian Jones who's 26 years old, who still has some untapped potential, in my opinion, and he's coming off the best year of his career last year with Sacramento, by the way, not Utah. That's my mistake. 8 points per game, that's solid production, and this is a guy who could be one of the better backup centers across the NBA for the production and the versatility that he gives this Lakers team.
Yeah, efficient player last year. He knows who he is as a player. He can roll to the basket. Like you said, Chase, early on in his career, didn't live up to that billing, but kind of put it all together last year. And I'll say what I said earlier. When you have contracts of LeBron, AD, and Westbrook, you got to find contributors that'll play for the vet minimum, and that's what I think you found here in Damian Jones. I think he can be your backup center. If AD is your starter at the 5, we'll see if they get more of a traditional starting 5. If he plays the 4, I'd rather just play AD at the 5. I know there's been some conversations in the past about that within the organization, but I like Jones. I think he can play minutes for this team and contribute this upcoming season. Grade the signing of Damian Jones, ABCDRF. A vet min guy that I think will be in the rotation, Chase. I think it's got to be at least a B.
Yeah, and I also think they pivoted to a player like Damian Jones after Mo Bamba had re-signed with the Orlando Magic, and his average annual value is going to be about $10 million per year. We know the Lakers are very tight on money. For a vet min deal for Damian Jones with a player that's ascending and getting better, this could end up being a nice little sneaky good signing for Los Angeles.
Let's get to the bigger stories in NBA free agency that could connect to the Lakers, especially when it comes to Kyrie Irving. Windhorst says the Lakers could potentially put together a package that lands Kevin Durant and Kyrie.
That's crazy.
I can't imagine it would be both.
Is Windy off his rocker, man?
I don't know, man, but I think I will say this: the Kyrie rumors are definitely back. I mean,
the Kyrie, they're back.
And let's kind of take a step back here. Kevin Durant has requested a trade, which means if he leaves Brooklyn, Kyrie's going to be out too.
You're not rebuilding your franchise with Kyrie Irving.
Kyrie opted into his $36.5 million contract. So we're back to where we were a week ago, Chase. Can you get Kyrie Irving into Los Angeles by somehow moving Russell Westbrook? Because that's what it's going to take, unless you want to move Anthony Davis, but then you have Kyrie and Russ. I don't think that makes sense. So I think if you're the Lakers, if you can find a way to dump Russ and get Kyrie, even though Kyrie is, kind of fragile and you don't know what you're getting, he's certainly better than Russ.
Yeah, so going back to Windy's report, is it financially possible to trade away Russell Westbrook and Anthony Davis for Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving? Financially, it actually works, but the realistic aspect of that is not realistic. It would never happen in a million years. And if you're the Brooklyn Nets and you trade away Kevin Durant, you're then going to trade away Kyrie Irving because he is not going to be your franchise cornerstone who you build your team with. So you're going to look to trade him away. But the whole point of trading away KD and Kyrie is to rebuild. And in order to rebuild, you want to get good pieces back. Unfortunately for Los Angeles, you're not going to trade away Russell Westbrook for Kyrie Irving, in my opinion. No. I'd be shocked by that if Brooklyn were willing to take that back. Now, if they get a historic deal back for Kevin Durant, then maybe they can absorb a little bit of a blow, getting rid of Kyrie Irving for a little less than they had hoped for. But to trade away both of them for deals that don't necessarily help them for building in the future, it makes no sense for Brooklyn. We're talking about a front office that now has their jobs on the line, and they face a very difficult task and road of having to rebuild their franchise with young players, and they just lost out on James Harden. Now maybe Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, very difficult spot to be in. They're going to ask for a haul back for both players.
There's no doubt about that. Will Kyrie get dealt to the Lakers? Why for yes and for no? I mean, I think it's L.A. or bust, potentially, unless an unforeseen team steps up. I think with Miami...
I hope Kyrie gets traded to the Lakers.
Yes, yeah, me too. With Miami re-signing Oladipo and Deadman and kind of filling up their... I don't think they're really in play for Kyrie. There's a rumor out there that they want Donovan Mitchell potentially, so I don't think they're going after Kyrie. It does feel like the Lakers are the one team who is at least pretty interested. Why for yes and for no? Let us know what you guys think. And Chase, tell the folks why they should subscribe to the Lakers Report.
Subscribe to the Lakers Report. I'm usually the primary host, but sometimes Harrison steps in. We got to give a shout out to the man behind the scenes. Sam Brown has been grinding his ass off to really produce the best Lakers content on the entire internet. He deserves those props. He deserves those accolades, and we've been able to see numbers grow, subscribers grow, because we are consistent with our coverage, pushing out videos every single day. So if you want to stay in the know with all things Lakers, the solution is simple. And if you want coverage that's entertaining and informative, just hit that red subscribe button or head to youtube.com/LakersTV.
We should also mention, Chase, that Malik Monk is signing with the Sacramento Kings.
Yeah.
Monk will not be returning to the Lakers. There were some rumors that maybe he would take a little less to return, but I got to be honest, I think Monk looked at this like, I get to team up with my best friend in De'Aaron Fox. If you remember at Kentucky, they were best pals and they were running mates there. So he reunites with Fox in Sacramento, 2 years and $19 million. Can't really blame him for that. That's a blow, though, for L.A., Chase. I think outside of LeBron and AD, you could argue that Malik Monk was the most consistent player in the purple and gold last season.
He was really good, and this is a player who was drafted in the first round out of Kentucky, and to start his career with the Charlotte Hornets, he didn't get off to a good start. It was somewhat rocky. The last 2 years, though, have been pretty telling. Last 2 years, he's been about a 40% three-point shooter. Now, the Lakers could not afford the contract that the Kings gave him. And for Malik Monk, it's a great opportunity. He gets to team up with De'Aaron Fox, his teammate at Kentucky, and he gets to secure the bag and make some more money than he did last year. And it's a nice little deal for him. For Los Angeles, it's certainly a big loss. Really good athleticism. A guy who can somewhat put the ball on the floor, finish around the rim because he's a high flyer. Most importantly, though, what's a coveted asset in today's NBA, guys who can knock down the three. That's what Malik Monk has been able to do the last 2 years. He's found a role as a really solid player on an NBA roster. He's never going to be that superstar first-round pick, but as a guy who can make it rain from deep, this is a big loss for LA, considering last year he was their best three-point shooter, and now they need to fulfill that need.
Yeah, and I think a team last year, Chase, that signed a bunch of young or old and over-the-hill
Oldest
guys.
roster in the history of the NBA.
Malik Monk was the one youthful, energetic guy that actually played well.
THT sucked
throughout the entire year because Horton Tucker, like you said, were not consistent, where the Lakers were one of the oldest teams in the league. So Monk is definitely a loss. We'll see what Damian Jones brings to the table as he's on a one-year deal. Don't think the Lakers are close to done. The Kyrie rumors are going to circulate. We'll see on KD. That seems unlikely. I'll tell you what, though, Chase. If Durant and LeBron finally played together, get your popcorn ready in L.A. because that would be absolutely fantastic. What do you guys think? Are the Lakers a playoff team this upcoming season, technically the 22-23 season? I for in, O for out. Are they going to make the playoffs? Let us know down in the comments section.